White cotton draws attention away from laboring humans and toward the literal color of the material itself. The phrase white cotton is a diversion in which cotton is associated with whiteness rather than blackness. The addition of the word clean further asserts the benign innocence of the material that constitutes Raggedy Ann's body and personality. And finally, the word nice encapsulates Raggedy Ann's core value, that nice trumps all. Overall, Gruelle valued niceness over goodness. Raggedy Ann endlessly asserts that cotton is nice, clean, and white, and thus screens out processes of producing cotton that are far from nice, clean, or white. Given that the emergent U.S. toy industry manufactures soft dolls specifically to accommodate cuddling interposed with violence as discussed in Part 7, and that violence was cast as a patriotic exercise in the development of vigorous American child bodies, it is unsurprising that children abuse dolls. Raggedy Ann dolls, like all soft toys, prompt both cuddling and abuse, while advertising and Raggedy Ann stories model more specific practices of play within this general dualistic prompt. Raggedy Ann succeeded through the 20th century as a book-doll combination because the doll's materiality and the book's narratives intersected through marketing to script legible scenarios for play. An individual child could, of course, resist these scripts, and for exactly this reason, advertisers went out of their way to promote the linked use, and therefore sales, of Raggedy books and dolls. In the pages of Gruelle's books, white children cuddle Raggedy Ann to the breast and dismember her. Their servants boil her and wring her out. Children in Raggedy Ann's stories sleep with her, beat her, cut her, confide in her, kick her, and treat her, and with great frequency, they hang her. The multiple scenes of hanging through Raggedy Ann's stories reimagine the act as racially innocent. Raggedy Ann's love of being mischievous often results in her getting dirty or wet, and these episodes are routinely followed by scenes of restorative cleaning and drying. Cleaning usually entails boiling, and drying requires hanging. In one hanging scene, Gruelle paints Raggedy Ann with a clothespin that points towards the doll's crotch and pinches folds of cloth that quote a vulva. Gruelle's many images of hanging reimagine lynching as harmless violence against dolls. Let us consider the following. In the early 20th century, lynching declined overall but became increasingly radicalized as white on black crime. From 1889 to 1899, Americans lynched one person on average every other day, and 2 out of 3 of the victims were African American. From 1900 to 1909, one person was lynched every 4th day, but 9 out of 10 of the victims were African American. The raw numbers of lynching steadily decreased. From 1910 to 1919, Americans lynched a person every 5th day. From 1920 to 1929, Americans lynched a person every 9 days. However, the percentages remained steady during these decades. 9 of 10 victims were African American. In the summer of 1919, 1 year after the publication of Raggedy Ann stories, whites lynched 76 African Americans in 25 race riots across the country. The 25 riots of the hot months of 1919 earned the season the name Red Summer. Unlike the victims of these riots, Raggedy Ann does not mind being ravaged and hanged. In this figure, Raggedy Ann's head has been harmlessly skinned and emptied of her cottony brain so that the stuffing might dry separately, an image that both recalls and suppresses knowledge of African American bodies that white lynchers ransack for souvenirs such as ears, teeth, fingers, or genitals. And as always, throughout the non-ordeal, Raggedy Ann smiles cheerfully. Raggedy Ann's fixed smile makes the same claim that Frances Hodgson Burnett's Uncle Tom's doll did. Because Burnett's cheerfully hideous black doll smiled permanently, it appeared to be enjoying the situation of being whipped. Raggedy Ann, as insensate to pain as any other imagined faithful slave, enjoys being thrown, boiled, wrung out, skinned, and hanged. It's just racially innocent fun. Bernstein writes about another racial aspect of white children's representational play with black dolls that has not, to date, been located in relation to blackface minstrelsy, in part because most scholars have understood minstrelsy as a realm of adult working-class men. But this frame precludes children, and especially middle-class children, and their home-based practices from analysis. In fact, 19th century white children's play with black dolls circulated gestures both out of and into blackface performance. Children's material culture reproduced the minstrel mask, as in the face of Raggedy Ann. White girls, playing in pairs or groups, held their black dolls before them, with the dolls facing each other, and spoke for and through them, often performing minstrel dialect and humor. When a white girl spoke in dialect from behind a black doll, the doll functioned as the minstrel mask, a prop in the performance of corkless racial ventriloquism. Girls and boys used groups of black dolls to stage home-based minstrel shows, often in homemade toy theaters. These domestic activities were neither disconnected from onstage performance nor merely imitative of it. Rather, black dolls physically traveled between the home and the stage. As a conduit for gestures of blackface, black dolls theatricalized the home and domesticated the theater. If you find it hard to believe that black dolls were sold in the 19th through mid-20th centuries for the mere sake of beating them, brace yourself. In 2019, Dollar Zone began selling these feel-better black dolls from the Harvey Hunter Company, which had to be pulled from shelves. This black rag doll came with instructions sewn on its stomach that read, "Whenever things don't go well and you want to hit the wall and yell, here's a little feel-better doll that you just will not do without. Just grab it firmly by the legs and find a wall to slam the doll. And as you whack the feel-good doll, do not forget to yell, 'I feel good, I feel good.'"